the really popular washable rugs, but they are full of polyurethane, like they're coated in polyurethane. You have to look at what are the things in polyurethane that can be harmful to yourself. And it's toxic, it has skin irritants. So we bought 100% wool rugs, a little bit more expensive. You can get them inexpensively as well, but they are antimicrobial naturally because they're made from sheep wool and they're naturally stain resistant. So still a really good direction to go if you don't want that huge toxin load in your home.
Welcome to the Longevity Formula with Dr. Brandon Crawford. Let's explore the new era of wellness.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have someone that is extremely special to me. It's someone that I've known ever since I was in elementary school. We grew up together. We know all the good things and all the bad things about each other, which there's much less for me to report bad about her, unless we're talking about her family. No, I'm kidding. So this is my wife. So we're talking with Sarah Crawford today. Thanks for joining us on the show. So there's so many different reasons to talk to Sarah, but just to kind of give you a little bit of background about who Sarah is. So Sarah is kind of a jack of all trades. She is really good at a lot of things and honestly really could just kind of do anything that she wants to with her life. She's the chief operating officer of NeuroSolution ATX. So here in Austin, she helped set up operations for NeuroSolution Atlanta. She's consulted and helped me out with setting up the Dubai operations. She's the chief operating officer of NeuroSolution Products. Currently, she's venturing into real estate. She's purchased a house doing some rental things there. I don't know what to call it, whatever. Honestly, she's really good. She should really be a consultant for small businesses, large businesses. She's extremely quick to pick up on where inefficiencies are in business practices. So, but she says she doesn't want to be a business consultant, but she should be.
I'm busy. We had 2 kids.
I know.
And all these other things we do. Why add anything else?
That's right. And you're a vacation planner.
I am. I'm a dang good vacation planner.
Of all the things, what do you like the best?
Vacation planning.
Of course. Okay, cool. So I don't know if I left anything off the list. Oh, and she's the HMFIC. So
that's right.
If anyone doesn't know what that means, don't worry about it. If you do know what it means, then there you go. So we're going to be talking about toxins and clean living today. Something that has really kind of defined a lot about our life and how we do things, why we do things, etc. And literally, we have known each other since we were in elementary school, right? I mean, I can remember driving over on my 4-wheeler, picking you up when we were dating in high school and going on a dirt road. And probably
he was my first kiss when I was 15. So yeah,
that's right.
Long time known him.
That's right. So she doesn't know how disappointing I really am, I guess. I don't know.
That's all I've ever known.
Okay, so where do we go first? Do we go right into PFAS? I mean, I don't know. What are we talking about?
No. I think we start like vacation, right? So recently we went to Barcelona for Christmas with the kids. And while we were there, we stayed in an older building, like a hotel.
Which was awesome. Yeah,
it was awesome. It was great. When we got back, Nolan had started having raging eczema on his arms while we were there. And we didn't really realize what it was. Was it from the cigarette smoke that was there everywhere?
There was a lot of cigarette smoke.
A whole lot of cigarette smoke. But yeah, so we got back and he was bleeding, his arms scratching like crazy. And so, we tried, ramping up his supplements, ramping up probiotics and biotoxin binder and binders and all the things. And then we pulled his blood and he did the finger prick test, but we tested.
Well, I should start with this. I was going to, I was doing his labs and everything. You're the one that said, do the heavy metals. And I didn't, but I didn't even really think about it. But Sarah's the one, she was like, run the heavy metals too. And I was like, all right, no reason not to.
Yeah. So Nolan hates needles. I don't know why, but
I do.
He ended
I remember that. Oh my
he
gosh.
ended up poking his finger and we did, I think, 8 cards of 6 blood spots.
Right.
So he was a trooper.
So that was a fortunate thing with Vibrant Labs is that we can do a lot of these tests with finger pokes. So we can do nutritional testing, heavy metal testing, autoimmune testing. Like there's all kinds of things that we can test. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So we did that, and his everything, like food sensitivity wise, was pretty great. I was
really
like,
good.
wow, this looks great. I expected something crazy to be there, but it was nickel and formaldehyde off the charts. All the rest of the metals were fine. And so we were like, where did he get exposed to nickel and formaldehyde? And turns out Barcelona has a really high correlation to those things in their waters, especially in the water in old buildings, which I'm guessing their pipes are made of nickel, possibly, or coated in nickel.
Something.
So then, we went down that rabbit hole and looked and saw, well, nickel, how does it, show that it's affecting you? And one of the ways it does is in your skin. And it was really surprising when he would work out, play basketball, or do jiu-jitsu, and he would sweat a lot. It would be so much worse, like whelps and really, really, really itchy. Well, how does nickel detox? One of the ways, the pathway is through your sweat. So, just it's crazy how much we love to travel, but you never expect to have these kinds of toxins and come in like contact with toxins when you travel, right?
Right.
Something
Absolutely.
we don't think about.
Yep. And so we started him on a heavy metal detox. I will say, so with the new lasers that we made, we did have a green laser, right? And so we had that for like 2 nights because then I had to go back to the engineers. But we did use that green laser on his skin. It did help it by like 40%. I mean, it was massive by how that helped. But besides that, we changed everything, really focusing on the heavy metals as far as detox goes, etc. But then also kind of going back to, okay, what are we missing in the house? What else do we need to clean up? How do we kind of, veered away from this whole concept of like really being toxin-free, living, how we should. So I don't know if you want to comment on anything. Yeah, well, I
think, as your kids get older and you're through pregnancy and breastfeeding, and you kind of stop thinking about the chemical load in your house or what's coming up, and your kids are just older, they seem to be fine with, just using the free and clear Tide or using this and that. But I was like, what if it's the chemicals like we're using in the house, right? Just from, dishwasher pods or the Myers spray, which you think is super clean, but it's not. So luckily I was researching and found Branch Basics. It's a cleaning supply company, and it was founded by a mom whose her son couldn't detox like anything. Right. And she found out through a whole line of things that it was from the toxins in her house. Everything from perfume to hairspray to the cleaning supplies. So I ordered all the Branch Basics and threw away everything else in our house. So I don't know. I don't know what's helped. I don't know what's not helped, but it's definitely better.
Definitely better.
But yeah, it's a journey, like keeping your kids healthy and figuring out what's affecting them. Luckily for Nolan, like it's really apparent. Yeah. Even whenever he eats, when he eats occasionally gluten here and there, it upsets his stomach a bit. But man, he's a huge skin reactor. Like that is our biggest thing. Right. Well, and for a kid, people are always like, it's from all the antibiotics. My kid's had one antibiotic in his whole life, and it was because of an abscessed tooth, and the eczema started before that. And it's from the vaccines. Well, nope, it isn't, because he never had any vaccines. Exactly. So even if you live as healthy a life as you can, your kids can still have these really weird issues and autoimmune reactions. And
Yep, absolutely. Which we can get into that from a neurophysiology perspective or not. I mean, Nolan's always had kind of this neurological imbalance, kind of like Gavin, like myself, like everyone. No one, no one's perfectly balanced, really. And that will then allow for this imbalance in the immune response. So it's important to acknowledge this and not just be doing what you can to avoid the toxins and live clean and all that, but also be working on that neurophysiology, making sure that you're stimulating the vagus nerve, you're reducing stress responses, you're, doing all the things that you should be doing in that regard.
It did get better once we got into summertime. Yep. 7th grade is stressful. Kids are stressful. Definitely saw a reduction in the eczema just from being home. Or when we go to the beach, if he gets good sun exposure, like his skin gets better.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the stress response from his school year, right? High?
Yeah. It was really, we came back from Barcelona and it was crazy because school was nuts. So I did definitely wonder if that, I don't know why it wouldn't contribute to the reaction.
It does. Totally. And now, he's even changing schools and his stress response has just gone down so much. Yep. So I do think that's a big contributing factor here too. But well, cool. Well, you kind of brought up a big topic that we don't vaccinate our kids. Yeah. I don't know if you want to get into that at all. It's kind of a big one, but why not, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
So yeah, we don't vaccinate our kids. Where do you want to go first with that?
That journey start. Well, I mean, I do look at our lives and think about how different our lives would have been had you not gone into chiropractic as a profession.
Right. Because I was accepted to pharmacy school.
Yeah. How different would our life look had you gone to pharmacy school?
I wouldn't be near this good looking. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'd be just taking my statins and doing all my things and just sitting on the couch. I'm kidding. I don't think I look that great. But anyway, but you're right. So, just to give a little background, I had been accepted to pharmacy school, and we both grew up in more, traditional medicine models. And so when we were pregnant, of course, it's like, well, yeah, we're just going to vaccinate. So let's kind of start this conversation about vaccines, which we honestly, guys, we did not plan for this to go in this direction. Just honestly, we sat down 10 minutes ago and this kind of bubbled up. So that's cool. We'll talk about it. So there's been some things that happened on your side of the family. There was some things that happened on my side of the family. And again, like when we were first, pregnant, of course, we were just going to do what, everyone else around us did. We were just going to fully vaccinate our kids. But because of these occurrences in the families, we decided otherwise. So I know on my side of the family, I had someone that actually had medically documented seizure reactions that was brought to the service, right? And literally the medical records were brought to me and said, hey, look, this is what happened. Here's the documentation. I was like, wow, okay. So literally documented medical, reaction leading to seizures. I was like, okay, so I need to think about this. And then same thing on your side.
Yep.
What had happened? I know it was some really adverse events, so I guess we shouldn't really tell the details.
Yeah, like progressive autism and absent seizures. And once vaccines were stopped, they didn't even do a crazy detox regimen. Right. But yeah, I mean, normal functioning, thriving child now.
Exactly. And so, I love reading research. If I'm going to read, it's going to be for a purpose. That's what he does at nighttime after I go to sleep. Yes, it is. So I'm glad that now it's public, because I say that all the time, but I don't know if anyone believes me.
Yeah.
So what it did for me is it made me really go into the research and go, okay, let's read through this information. But I understood that the funding of the research mattered. And so I would always look at who is paying for this study. And then there's other things to consider, like correlative values, T values, P values, et cetera, that you really want to look at. And you can state things kind of differently to kind of lead someone in a general direction in the research. But I consistently kept coming up short on finding a reason in the research that would really convince me, right? That, okay, this was literally done for the public, really just looking at, is this a good idea or not? I was really having trouble finding those studies.
Yeah, like why does a baby at birth, or maybe it's the first 2 weeks, need a Hep B vaccine?
It doesn't make sense.
Who are they sharing needles with? Who are they having sex with? Nobody. Right. So why are we giving that to our kids? It makes zero sense.
Exactly. Exactly.
Some that make a little bit more sense, where you could argue and where you could understand why parents are afraid of polio, right?
Sure.
Why are you afraid of polio? Well, did you know it still happens all the time? It's just labeled different things.
It's labeled as acute flaccid paralysis now. And so it is still out there. And I think what people don't understand is that when you see the data that shows, well, look, when we started vaccinating, diseases were here. And for the people just listening, I'm pointing to a random place in space. And then we started vaccinating and it went way down here, right? Well, if you were to actually look at a larger data set, you would actually see that disease rates were way higher before the vaccine schedules were implemented.
And that's whenever we got clean water, we had proper sanitation, we had things like antibiotics that are needed sometimes.
Exactly. And so there's this whole history, this whole backstory that started before the vaccine schedules were implemented. And that was huge for me, to understand that. It's like, well, why did they only show me this little snippet of time in history? Yeah. Because they're trying to convince me. But when you actually look at the big picture, it's like, wait a minute, man, that was a drop in the bucket. And again, you mentioned polio, and you still have acute flaccid paralysis as a diagnosis here. And what is it? It's polio.
Right. But looking back, looping in Nolan, aren't you happy we didn't vaccinate? Can you imagine with the formaldehyde exposure? What if he does not detox formaldehyde correctly, which clearly he's not?
Right.
Well, that's in almost every vaccine, I think.
Absolutely.
You know, those are the things you have to think about, and some things you don't realize until your kid's 13 and a half.
Exactly. And that could literally be I mean, for some, a life or death situation.
Yeah. Game changer.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I'll say this from a clinical perspective. Again, like we both respect both sides here.
Yeah, we have family members that we love and we respect, and best friends that fully vaccinate their children.
Exactly. And I do want everyone listening to understand that we respect the decisions and whatnot, but it's nice to be able to decide for our own family, right? I don't like being told what to do and what not to do. But me as a clinician, right? So my fellowship is in childhood neurodevelopmental disorders. I cannot tell you how many parents have sat across from me with tears in their eyes, and they say the words, "I had a normal child until." And that alone, I don't need to read the research anymore, because I can't even, I mean, hundreds, thousands, a lot. Okay. I've been practicing for almost 15 years, and I've always seen neurodevelopmental disorders. It's always been something that, you know, we've wanted to work with. I can't tell you how many times it happened. And again, people that were vaccinating were on, you know, the bandwagon of vaccines are safe and effective and proven safe and all these things. And then their life takes a turn, and it happens right after the vaccine. And I understand that it doesn't happen for everyone. It's like playing Russian roulette.
Yeah, and thankfully it doesn't. But
Exactly.
when it affects your child and drastically changes your life, like, you are the statistic.
Yes.
And it's really, really difficult.
Exactly. And it literally is like playing Russian roulette, because you don't know how your child's immune system is responding or not responding at that current time. Vaccines have what are called adjuvants. Adjuvants are put in there simply to stimulate the immune system. That's what they're supposed to do. What if you have a neurochemistry? What if you have a neurophysiology imbalance that allows for this upregulated immune response? Like an immune response that's too strong, right? You don't know. There's no way to know if this is in your child. There's no way. There's no test. So it's literally like playing Russian roulette. And you could literally just, you know, completely ruin a life.
Yeah, and the studies aren't there.
No.
And the women who get these vaccines when they're pregnant, guys, the studies aren't there.
No.
Like, there's no long-term safety data. Like, we don't really know what it's doing. And you don't know what it's doing when it's combined.
Nope.
Anyone ever figure out why we can no longer get individual vaccines? You can't get the measles vaccine separated from the mumps, you know, separated from rubella. Like, you have to get these combos.
Yeah.
Scary stuff.
I mean, you can request it, but not everyone will give it.
And not everyone can even get it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think another like huge factor for me was when there was a law that was passed. It was called the Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. And this happened in 1986. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it's very, very apparent. You look at the vaccines that existed in like the 40s and 50s compared to the vaccines that existed in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then in 1986, I mean, the list went from, I think we were late 80s babies. I think we got like
mid 80s.
Actually, here's a funny stat. I think I figured out that a 3-month-old baby has received more vaccines born this current day than we did in our entire life.
Wow.
And no one in my generation had measles, mumps, rubella. God forbid we had chickenpox. Right. But besides that, like, that has to be like, make you think, like, then why did we open up this vaccine schedule? I don't even want to quote a number. You can find it on Google. I haven't looked at it in a long time. Maybe 86, 112, something like that. It's a lot.
I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually don't know the current number either. Again, we did not plan to go this direction.
Yeah. And our youngest kid's 10. I feel like I haven't been down that rabbit hole in a while.
He's 9. He'll be 10 in a week.
Yeah. You're holding off on that double digit.
I am. He's the baby.
Yeah.
But so this act was passed 1986, and it literally made it to where if you or your child were injured from a vaccine, you could not and still cannot directly sue the vaccine manufacturer. So that makes no sense to me. If I make a product and that product injures someone, my company is liable. And that's true of every scenario except vaccines. How does that make sense?
And the FDA wants to crack down on supplements and peptides.
Oh, God forbid.
But please open up your newborn baby to be injected with a vaccine that has a black box warning.
Right. And God forbid if you do have vaccine injury in your family, well, for every vaccine that is administered, there is a tax on it that is collected by the government, and it's placed into this vaccine injury fund. So now when there's a vaccine injury, it's not, you can't, number one, like I said, you can't sue the company that made the vaccine. You actually have to petition to the government and go through the legal system, which is extremely expensive for the individual. I'm talking six figures typically, to then maybe have access to some of this funding that taxpayers have paid into. So now taxpayers are actually the ones liable to pay for these injuries, and only an extremely small percentage are getting anything.
Right.
And again, I didn't look at the statistics, but I know billions of dollars have been paid out through this fund for vaccine injuries. That means they've gone through the system. Someone has paid the six figures. They've got the attorneys. They've gone through the system, and they were awarded. The government said, yes, you were injured from a vaccine. You're due this payment. So billions of dollars have been paid through this system. Again, like, how can someone say these things are completely safe and effective? And that's a load of crap, first of all. But then how can someone literally say, well, it's for, the good of the people? Like, well, okay.
It's for the good of the people till that person is your child.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And then you're living it every single day. And we've seen it. We witnessed it.
Exactly.
It's heartbreaking.
Exactly. And again, it's different if we truly had something that eradicated disease, and truly carried a strong safety profile. But that's just not the case. If that were the case, all day long, let's do it. But it's not the case.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
that was a rabbit hole.
Let's go on, though.
Yeah, we haven't been down there in a long time.
I know. You want to go get a COVID vaccine with me?
No. Thankfully, we're in Texas, y'all.
Oh, man. The greatest country in the world.
That's right.
Oh, man. Yeah, and I just got back from California. That was fun. So
Wait. Can we say this?
What?
What did that one lady say?
Which one?
That super educated woman.
Oh, gosh. Which one?
What did she say? That she thinks that people who don't vaccinate their kids are as stupid as the flat earthers.
They compare, yes.
And I'm glad I wasn't there, because I would have been like, well, we're pretty stupid over here then.
Yeah, I was apparently compared to someone that believes the earth is flat because I don't vaccinate my child. So that's fun.
We just stayed hush-hush. That's okay.
Oh, boy. Okay. That was fun.
Yeah. Other ways you can clean up your house and your environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some things we do? Well, there's lots of things. Air filters in your house.
What kind of air filters do we use?
We have a Miele.
I love it.
Yeah, we don't, Yeah.
Why do we love it?
I like it because it gives you a constant reading of the things in your house.
It does.
So the other day I was blow drying my hair and ours went crazy. And it runs like slowly and it like ramped up crazy. I was like, I'm just blow drying my hair, but I'm wondering if something in my hair products was maybe getting into the air and was probably more toxic than I realized.
Yeah. It's funny because it'll send little messages like, what's going on here? Or like, if the air's clean, it's like, sure is boring around here. Like,
or the kids, they like to toot on it.
They fart on the filter.
Crazy.
Yes.
Like or the other day we couldn't figure out what it was when we first got it, but it was because the air, like the pollen in the air.
Oh,
like
yeah,
the tree pollen was
the
high.
pollen was really high. And so it has like an automatic mode. I guess we should kind of explain that.
Yeah.
You can run it manually. Which you can just turn it up however loud. That's what Sarah does when she tries to take a nap. You don't get it. When's the last time you actually got to take a nap? Yeah. No matter what, you will not have a kid near you until you try to lay down and take a nap. And then, within that 30 minutes, 5-10 times they'll come knock on the door.
Mainly Gavin.
Yeah. So she'll put on manual mode and, turn it up to kind of like buffer the sound. Or we'll typically keep it in automatic mode, which it's like sensing the air. So we really like that. Yeah, it is funny. I think that was Nolan that farted next to it and it went crazy.
Yeah.
And that's
But it is cool. Like you can see, okay, what am I doing in my house? What am I using? Why is this ramping up? But it makes you think about it, right? But we bought it. We made a new like guest wing in our house and had one. They have ones for like pregnant women, for children, for home renovations, for every day, for pets, for like environmental allergies. They have different filters and they just come and you can change them out. Amazon has them.
Absolutely.
They're pretty cool.
It's very important.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people that may not think about the importance of clean air, it's extremely important.
Yeah.
And, you know, one thing, so we did live in a house that had a lot of mold in it back in the day.
Yep.
We didn't have all these air filters back then. I'm sure it would have made a difference, but that was a reason, a contributing factor that we really only want to live in new construction now.
Yeah. But then that comes with its own set of things where you have to off-gas your house and have it exposed to proper light and UV and ozone and, you know, all those things. Yeah. Buying new products, like things you buy. I was buying new rugs for our house like last year, and I was looking at the ingredients. There's rugs, you know, the really popular washable rugs, but they are full of polyurethane, like they're coated in polyurethane. You have to look at what are the things in polyurethane that can be harmful to yourself. And, you know, it's toxic. It has skin irritants. So we bought 100% wool rugs, a little bit more expensive. You can get them inexpensively as well, but, you know, they are antimicrobial naturally because they're made from sheep wool and they're naturally stain resistant. So still a really good direction to go if you don't want that huge toxin load in your home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking you're really pretty. I wasn't even thinking about what I was going to. Sorry.
Okay, moving on.
So I kind of got I don't know where I was going to go
Almost
next.
18 years later, you still get like that.
I know.
I know, it's a good thing.
Because it's true. You're pretty. You're a pretty lady. You want to talk about PFAS now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Freaking Topo Chico.
PFASs.
Yes. Our forever toxins.
Polyfluoroalkyl somethings.
Solution. I don't know. I don't remember what it's
PFAS.
Yeah, so Topo Chico has 9.76 parts per PPT. Is that parts per trillion?
Something
Something like that.
It's a lot.
Anyways, supposed to have one.
Supposed to have one.
Yeah.
And these things are what, like forever plastics or something?
Yeah,
They're like in
I'm
you
thinking
forever.
it's similar to like petroleum.
Petroleum.
Yeah, like
It's bad.
Vaseline kind of nastiness. Always stays in you.
Yeah.
So yeah, different things you can do. We bought an ARC carbonator for our house, AARKE. And we have really clean water. We're on well water that's been tested and it's super duper clean. And
we still run it through a filter.
Yeah, run through a filter and
We run
then
it
back
through-
with more minerals.
There's a particulate filter, a carbon filter, and it goes
UV.
through reverse osmosis. It does then go back through a mineral filter because we don't want to just constantly be drinking reverse osmosis water.
Correct. Yeah.
It'll strip your body of minerals. So if you're doing a detox, reverse osmosis, or distilled water is good. But if this is your constant drinking water, you want to add the minerals back.
Yep.
Or take a good mineral supplement.
Yeah. So if you can have if you know you have good water at your house, then make your own sparkling water at home.
Absolutely.
And you can make it as spicy and like carbonated as you want it to be.
That's right.
Which is really cool.
Well, because we were drinking a lot of Topo Chicos, but then it's like, shut the front door. What are these PFAS?
Yeah.
And stuff, right? And so now we'll, make our own, or I personally like Ramblers.
Because it has limestone. We need to see what their PFAS are.
Yeah. So Ramblers, they're local in Austin, right?
Yeah, it's a Texas company.
So they're filtered in limestone. That's cool because that means it's naturally deuterium depleted. So deuterium depleted water can be extremely beneficial. And if you buy deuterium depleted water, it's extremely expensive. So like a case of deuterium depleted water is like $160.
And that's like for 24?
I think it's for 6 or 12.
Yeah, it's really expensive.
Yeah, I was just recommending that for someone this morning, a patient. And, just to give a little background on deuterium, for those that may not have heard of this before, hydrogen ions come in 3 forms. You have protium, which is just your proton and no neutron. And then you have deuterium, which is a proton and a neutron. And you have tritium. Tritium is radioactive. So if that's in you, put your head between your legs because your butt goodbye. No, I'm kidding. But deuterium, what will happen is in the electron transport chain, so within the mitochondria, you're building this gradient of hydrogen ions. It should be mostly protium, right? Because when you add that neutron to I know you're like, shut up.
My answer glazing over every year.
Right, exactly. But I have you like kind of where you can't leave right now. So when you add the neutron, it doubles the mass. At the end of the electron transport chain is the ATP synthase pump. And so hydrogen is supposed to flow through ATP synthase. Deuterium doesn't fit. And so literally plugs up the ATP synthase, which is bad. And so now you have reduced cellular energy production. You're not producing as much energy in your cell. It's not going to heal. It's not going to do whatever it's supposed to do. So drinking deuterium depleted water can be very beneficial for someone with a heavy toxic burden. This is where I start. I just did this. We just got labs in on a patient that's here today, and they were overloaded with heavy metals, with mold and mycotoxins, environmental toxins, all of these things. It was a lot. I mean, it's normal for us to have something come back with like one or two things, but this was a lot. And so the first thing I do is I put them on deuterium depleted water. Yep. Anyway.
And it tastes like water.
It does.
It tastes like clean, sweet, like really good water.
Exactly. So Modern Life is the one that I get. You can literally get on Amazon. But this is why I like Ramblers, because it is filtered through limestone, and that makes it naturally low in deuterium.
Yep.
That was a long tangent. Sorry. Back to
PFAS. But it's important. Like water, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And we just happen to really like bubbles.
We do like bubbles. So like, give someone a window into us, like traveling and like how picky we are about water.
Oh, we used to. Remember, we actually bought a water filtration system like we have here for my parents' house.
Yeah.
Because we would travel there and they were on well water. It tasted like bleach.
Yep.
Like you would bathe in it and it was just,
it
like
was
bleach.
well water, but then the local municipality just dumped a bunch of bleach into it.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess if you have over like 10 to 12 houses on one well, it's, thankfully someone like checks your water every once in a while. But before they would know the inspection was coming, they would just dump a bunch of bleach in it.
Right.
So we bought, we're picky. Yeah.
Well, and just a little word on well water. Just because you're on well water does not mean it's safe and clean. Mm-hmm. That's something that people need to realize.
Especially if you're in a heavy farming area. But thankfully, we're not.
Exactly. But our local water around this area does have high amounts of uranium and other things. Ours didn't, but there are accounts of that. And then even, my brother's water down on the coast, they had high amounts of arsenic in their water.
In Oklahoma too, my sister, I think they had lots of arsenic.
Yeah. So it's important. Fortunately, I had a patient that I think she was part owner of a hydrogeology company. So we were actually able to get the water like very well tested. And but I did have a patient with multiple sclerosis that was on well water her entire life. And once we realized what was going on, we got her off the well water, detoxed her, all these things, literally got her back up and walking and standing and like out of the wheelchair, living again. That was quite amazing. Anyway, so water is extremely important, and you want to make sure you're drinking clean water. What else? Like, what else do we want to talk about? Cleaning supplies or? Well,
and like other food we eat, right?
Yeah.
I buy half a cow from my friend every year.
True.
Like little things like that. It actually comes to be like half the price of grass-fed beef, Whole Foods, but her cows have never had vaccines, have never had antibiotics, or they're not grass finished. They're grass always. Now, what does that give you? Lean beef, right?
It's
sometimes not the best marbled steaks. You're not going to get that, but I have a cow from her every year, and we eat it. It makes awesome hamburgers, and it's like red. It reminds me of venison, I guess, because that's fresh meat too.
Right.
Like we kill deer also, but like it's red compared to like the pink, like spongy looking ground beef you go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm. We hunt deer.
And like supporting your local.
Kill deer.
We kill them?
Well, we hunt them.
But we always eat what we kill.
Of course.
Yes. But yeah, it's important. Like if you find a local farmer, like, and you can support your local farmer, like the meat can actually be cheaper than what you get at the grocery store that's conventional.
Yeah. What about eggs?
We use Vital Farms eggs, but the yolks are like orange. So when we make
which is important.
Yeah, we make pancakes, like Round Rock donuts.
Yeah.
If you're from here, there's donuts and they're orange. Well, it's because back in the day they used really good yolks and their donuts were naturally orange. Yep. But now they put orange dye in them to make them orange.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like our pancakes are like super deep and yellow whenever we make them. But
well, and the yolk is really orange because those chickens they're going around eating bugs and like nutrient dense things that chickens are supposed to eat.
Yeah.
They're not just kept in this tiny little cage and fed grain, which then you get this really light yellow
and unflavorful. Like when you get the dark yellow, it's like cheesy. It has a lot of flavor in the yolk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Cool. Well, what else do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Well, okay, you mentioned vacation planning. How do you vacation plan with all of this stuff going through your head?
Yeah. Well, we did look at going to the blue zone areas.
Yes.
And we spent time in some blue zone areas. We're going back to a blue zone area.
Yeah. So what's a blue zone?
What is blue zone? You
Well,
should put me on the spot like that. It's not in my notes.
So a blue zone are areas in the world where you have this very high percentage of people that live over 100. They call them centurions or something like that. So the area that we're talking about is Sardinia. I think I did do my research before this, but I believe Sardinia does actually have the highest amount of people living above 100. Again, don't quote me on that, but if it's not the most, then it's one of the most. Yeah. Side note, something that's interesting is a new product that we've been carrying in the office. It's called Fatty 15. So FATTY 15. It's a carbon 15 fatty acid. It is derived from dairy. And the people in the blue zones, right, especially Sardinia, they have very high amounts of C15 in their red blood cells. And interesting, so this is literally one of the newest discoveries as far as nutrient deficiencies go, is that when you're deficient in C15, it actually leads to red blood cell fragility. Your cells actually are less healthy. The cell membrane is degraded easier. It leads to chronic inflammatory states, all these things. So people in blue zones have higher amounts of C15 in their blood versus people that die early. And so I only know this because I was able to talk with the founder of Fatty 15, the product, and she's done a lot of the research on this topic. And so when you take, I think it was 100 milligrams of their C15 Fatty 15 product, you can very quickly, I think within a month, get within those blue zone, ranges that you want to for health and longevity. So that's what, we've been taking. Of course, I don't take 1 or 2 a day. I always start in taking like 6 a day, just, because that's how I work. But I'm giving it to the kids, giving it to you, me taking it, all the things. But side note on Sardinia, and they consume a lot of dairy there. So anyway, side note.
Yeah, but it's cool when you travel these places in Europe and other places. Like we can eat gluten when we're in Europe with no issue. And then this one thinks he can still be gluten-free and eats a roll on the flight home that's British Airways and doesn't go so well. So yeah, that's really cool. We went to, a couple of years ago, we went skiing at that resort and we ate. It
was in northern Italy.
Yeah, and all the pastries and all the pasta. And I lost 5 pounds.
Yeah.
I don't ever eat those things here. So just showing you experiencing new things and seeing what you can do. And from that trip, I now buy Italian wheat and occasionally make heirloom Italian wheat and occasionally make y'all cinnamon rolls. Because everyone knows gluten-free cinnamon rolls are doable, but they're not nearly as good. So but you can find those things like when you travel and you are like, hey, we can do this.
Right.
So to figure out how to do it, that's on Amazon.
Yeah. So heirloom means that the proteins have not been genetically modified. So it goes back to this concept of oral tolerance, where when you're developing in the womb, your mom's immune system has what's called antigen presenting cells. And when the mom eats something, these cells will sample that food protein and present it to your developing immune system. And will say, hey, mom ate this, it's safe. Don't attack it. And what happens with genetically modified food or hybridized food is we're taking food A and food B and we're producing food C, and that means a lot of those protein structures are changing. And if that were to happen a few times, probably not a big deal. But hybridization of wheat happened, I believe it started happening back in the 1960s. Again, don't quote me on that, but I believe, but it's really, really, really rapidly picking up. Like it's being hybridized quite a bit. And now what they're doing is they'll actually spray it. They'll harvest the wheat and then they'll spray it with glyphosate. We didn't even talk about glyphosate. That's Roundup. But they do that because then it sprouts more. And so you actually increase how much you can harvest. That's a big problem because now not only do you have a hybridized protein that your immune system doesn't recognize, but you have this chemically laden hybridized protein. So that's a big problem for most people's immune system. And it can be very inflammatory. Even people that don't have celiac don't need to be eating this. There's something called non-celiac gluten sensitivity.
That almost everyone has?
In America.
Yeah.
I mean, our testing proves it. We test, anytime we do food testing, we throw what's called a wheat zoomer on there. And so the wheat zoomer is by Vibrant Labs. It does a great job of breaking down all the different proteins that you can test in wheat and gluten. I've I think I've had 3 come back in my entire career that someone can actually eat wheat. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, I go to Europe, I'm fine. If I'm eating heirloom, I'm fine. But things are starting to change there too. Mm-hmm. Like, especially in Dubai, it's kind of 50-50.
Well, Amsterdam was no bueno.
Amsterdam was no bueno.
I think Australia wasn't that great either with their gluten-free products, with their gluten.
Pretty much Spain, parts of Italy, most of Italy. I think those are pretty much the areas.
France was good.
Yeah, France was good.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Yeah. So there is a product, though, the Ion Gut Support. It's humic and fulvic acids. It'll really seal the gut barrier very quickly and actually helps to negate a lot of that. Yeah. So kids call it dirt water. So if they eat gluten, they drink a bunch of dirt
Nolan
water.
chugs it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but it's interesting. So all these like healthy lifestyle changes, but it's hard, right? Sometimes like it's not doable or it doesn't work for you. Mm-hmm. I know I would love if I could use olive oil and coconut oil on my skin, but I can't. Like I can't use clean, healthy skin products because I break out like a teenager.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not like you're using diesel and Vaseline on your face.
No, I don't. But it's, you have to find those balances and what works for you. And then there's also great blogs and podcasts that talk about, making your own things at home so it's not quite as expensive.
Yeah.
So, it is cost prohibitive in some ways.
Sure.
But looking at the long-term benefits can be worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think so. I think that's a good discussion of just, there is this healthy balance,
Yeah.
And we're not food Nazis. You're more of a food Nazi than I am, but obviously it's not like I'm eating a bunch of junk food. I mean, I'm still very conscious of what I eat, but it does involve this healthy balance. I think that in this biohacking health and longevity crowd, which is not our main audience, but a section of it, it does get kind of tedious where someone will be like, I only eat this. I never stray away from this. Like I want to live to be X, years or whatever. But there's also this balance of, I do like queso. I like ice cream every now and then. I love a good tequila. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's that concept of I'm still going to live life. I'm going to do some things that maybe I won't make it to 150 or 180 or whatever, but I'm going to live damn good and I'm going to have a lot of fun while I'm doing this.
Right, there is balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta find balance.
For sure. Well, where do you want to go from here?
I think that pretty much sums it up.
You think so?
Yep.
Anything else you want to?
We went a lot of places. We went from a rug to vaccines. To Italy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talk about farting into air purifiers.
Yep. Test your air purifier. Maybe it's working, maybe it's not.
Fart next to it.
Fart next to it. If you have boys, they'll enjoy it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you can light them on fire. Light the farts on fire. That's fun.
Yeah.
You've done that?
But I have boys. This podcast should be listened to by preteen children.
Oh, goodness.
Because they would totally do that.
That's all good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, if you don't have anything else, I guess we'll sign off.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well,
thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
It was my second podcast.
I know. You finally made it in. I had to drag you in by having one of your favorite people on, Monica.
I'll talk about home birth all day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could have gone there, but we kind of already did with Monica. So
okay.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, I hope this information helped you. I hope that it was entertaining. I thought it was entertaining. It was good. But really, if this information can help you or someone else that you know and love, please like, subscribe, and share this information. And that's why we're here. We're here to help people. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to next time.
We hope today's episode has inspired you to take that next step toward your best self. Remember, the path to longevity is paved with small, daily decisions. Your journey is unique, and every step, every choice, brings you closer to your ultimate vision of a healthier, happier life. For more insights, tips, and resources, visit drbrandоncrawford.com.